Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Yvonne from GingerChickRehab. I'm so glad to have you back checking out what I am up to today. So yep, I'm here in the workshop and oddly enough, all of a sudden our furniture has been selling. Through the month of February, we have sold at least, I don't know, 10 pieces of furniture probably by the time you see this video. So yep, we went on a slow run of furniture not selling and now it is selling. So yes, so I had to get into our storage of, of finding another piece to get to do and just frantically searching on Marketplace all the time if we can find anything and checking out Goodwill, which is time consuming, you know. But anyway, so back in our hoards, when we built our workshop, we saved a shed that we had. And so we store unfinished pieces back there, which is good because you have storage, which is also bad because you're like, next thing you know, things get tucked in the back and then you forget about them. So in today's video, I am doing a piece that I got last March. So it's a buffet type, maybe entertainment center type of piece. It was red. So yes, I was super excited because I remembered I had it because I'd like a long piece. I don't know about how you all, when you're flipping pieces or you're staging your booth, and in my mind, I'd like a long piece, I'd like a tall piece, I'd like a China hutch, I'm all along the lines of that. So, yep, in today's video, that's what I am bringing you, this red buffet that I have had since last March. It got stuck back in our storage, but that's okay because it wasn't its time yet. So now it is its time, it's up front and center, and so it is getting done. And did I tell you all, yet again, it is red, which is usually not any big deal, but, so as we take a look at this beautiful side piece, oh my gosh, look at the storage. It's a nice, just one of those nice pieces, entryway. You could do it as an entertainment center, but here's the but. Look at all those deep marks. This is one of those soft pine type of pieces. And yep, there's the price tag back in last year, March. I do really think with how it is set up for storage, it really was used as an entertainment center, but you know what? You can use it whatever you want to. It definitely has that nice little slide out feature. It's got holes, which we're not going to do anything with because what if somebody wants to do electronics through it and use it for an entertainment center? I love this little slide out. Even as I'm closing the doors, you can see all those deep gouges. That I have the doors taken off and I didn't break that one when it fell. I can assess what these deep gouges and do I think I can sand them smooth or do I need to fill them in? Because this is actually a real wood piece, even though it's a soft pine, it's real wood. And I don't come across that very often where I think I can sand it down and have some natural accent. Oh, thank you for this Festool sander with this awesome vacuum system. Or any other time we would have red all over the place. So this is just, yes. So now when I come to the sides, I'm just going to go ahead and scuff sand it. I'm not going to try to get it all the way down. I'm going to have this be more of a two-tone type of look. And then unfortunately, I'll have to go back in and hand sand the molding pieces so I don't take away any of the curves. But I'm very happy that I was able to get that top down to the natural and get those gouges out. Now to remove the paint, I used an 80 grit, then a 150 grit, and Chris is going to go ahead and finish it off with a 220 to make the surface nice and smooth. I was unsure how we were going to finish it, but since I was able to get those gouges out, yep, I'm going to go ahead and stain that top. Then I'm not really even sure what type of paint that this is, because as I'm washing it off, it is just washing off with my rag. My water is just as red as what the sides were. Yes, I did blow it off with the air compressor to get all the sanding dust off, but the vacuum system really does get a lot of that. And I'm just using Superclean and hot water to get this piece all cleaned and prepped for paint. Definitely didn't want any of that red from my water coming onto the top of this, so I just actually used a Clorox wipe to clean off the top. Now, I don't think there's a lot to have to paint on this piece to hook up the sprayer to worry about any of that, so I'll just be going in and hand painting this piece today. So I'm just taking some 2-inch masking tape that I get from the Dollar General store and taping off the areas to protect so I can keep that nice crisp line. So as much as that paint was coming off on my rag when I was washing this, I definitely don't want it to cause any problems with my paint. So I'm going to go in with a couple coats of shellac. This is going to act like a primer, and this is going to set that paint in there. So now as I'm waiting for the shellac to dry, I need to work on my hardware, and I just need to get all these cleaned up. So some hot water, some Dawn dish soap, let them soak for a little bit, scrub them off, and then rinse them really well and then let them dry. Yep, we've just always done our old faithful. We're always putting screws in pieces of styrofoam. We always hold on to those shipping packages. So once this one gets used and abused too much, we just tear off another one. But using that Rust-Oleum paint and primer is just the go-to. I love the flat black and then sealing it in with some polycrylic. Yep, hardware always seems to be two-sided, so you always have to wait for that polycrylic to dry, flip all the pieces over, and do the same process of paint and primer, and then clear coat on the other side. To color this up today, I'm going to be using Rust-Oleum's Milk Paint in the Eclipse color. So this is a black, but not your darkest of black. And then I have a very soft bristle brush. I'll link down below what it is. I bought it off of Amazon. It's like $10, very cost efficient. definitely helps you get into all these little crevices of the molding and helps you achieve that nice smooth paint job. So with it being shellac is a little bit on the shiny side, so you want to be careful if you use that as your primer. So I'm just going in, I poured some of the milk paint into just a handled container so I can easily control and not contaminate my paint. So yep, I'm just trying to work in a downward motion. You want to eliminate brush strokes by working in the same direction as the wood grain. I always like to give another once over, making sure that I have eliminated any pooling of paint. I rather add multiple layers of my paint than have to try to sand off where I have too much paint or brush strokes. Now that that first coat is dry, we're on to the second coat. And for this milk paint, this Rust-Oleum milk paint, I'm going to treat it just like a chalk paint. I'm going to wet my surface down. That's going to give me that smooth glide and eliminate brush strokes. Now I ended up doing a total of 3 coats, doing that third coat the same exact way. Now I've got to remove my tape, and I took a little bitty of a paintbrush to make sure that if there was any of that red showing underneath, that I made a line. Yeah, I couldn't quite get that whole top of the piece sanded without taking away the curve, so I just left it as is and covered it up with black. You can't really tell, but it's just a nice little added detail. Here you can see the angle a little bit more of where I needed to just touch up where that tape was to keep that a nice straight line around that molding and that top. Now I'm going in with some polycrylic in the Ultra Matte. I'm just using a sponge applicator to wipe it on. Just sealing in that milk paint. I'm trying to get a nice thin layer put on here. When I put my polycrylic in a bowl to apply it, I added just a little bit of that Eclipse paint just to stop any white chalkiness that might happen when you're doing a dark paint in a clear top coat. That polycrylic is dry, I want to distress my edges, and yes, you do see my BLACK+DECKER mouse sander in my hand to distress my edges. I want to make sure that I get down to that natural wood and that I'm not getting too much of the red. I know a little bit of that red is probably going to peek through, but this way I know for sure I'm going to get down there. And yes, this is all about angles, because you just want that sander just on that sharp corner, that sharp edge, so that you're just distressing that and not the entire piece, taking all the paint off that you put on. Now I'm going to go back in with a very fine grit sandpaper. I'm going to hand sand. I'm going to work a little bit more of that red off if I can, but I definitely want to blow this off, so I'm just not rubbing that sanding dust from the mouse sander onto my paint. So yep, just some fine grit, very fine grit sandpaper. I've got a nice coat of polycrylic on this, and I just want to make sure that my surface is nice and smooth. And yes, I'm going to do the same exact distressing with the body of this cabinet. Oh my goodness, yep. You definitely want to go in really gingerly. You want to hold that parallel to each other, I guess, and just hit that sharp corner, taking it down to that wood. And then I got that sanded just like I sanded the drawers with the fine grit, opening up that polycrylic, making sure that everything is nice and smooth on the body. And now I'm going back in with straight antiquing wax, and this is just going to pop that wood. Now I'm going to put it on a little bit heavily than I usually do because I really want that pine is really porous, and it's just going to soak this antiquing wax right in and then just soften up my black. Now it's time to finish off the top, and because that pine is really dry and really porous, and I really love the color of antiquing wax with a little bit of the black ink in it, I'm going down in with my watered down mixture first. Now, while this is still wet, I'm going over with just straight antiquing wax. Yep, this is going to control. It's going to take that warmth out. I want it to match the inside, but I don't want it to be quite as red, as warm as what the inside is. So right over the top of it, a generous amount, just rubbing it in, trying to get it on evenly. Just like a stain, it is acting like a stain. It's staining. I let my stain dry completely overnight. Now I'm going to seal it in with using the spray polycrylic and the matte finish. And I'm going to end up doing 3 coats, and then on the 3rd coat, when that is dry, I'm going to take a fine grit steel wool and make sure that it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to add 1 more coat of the polycrylic. This is a soft pine. You saw what happened at the beginning to it. I want to make sure that this is nice and sealed in and nice and protected. Now we can start putting it back together. Yes, I can't wait to see what it looks like. But I got to remove my tape. I waited till after I waxed. That way I still protected the inside of the doors. But after I take my tape off, I need to run a little bit of sandpaper. There was always that hard, crusty edge where paint will pool up in top coat. You know, there's just that hard, crusty edge that I just want to take some sandpaper and sand that nice and smooth.
I always laugh when it comes to putting hinges back on because I'm always like, how did I take those off? Which way goes which? Actually, a lot of times I'll go back to the video that I video for you all and figure out which way they're supposed to open up and go on. That sometimes is the easiest way for me to tell how they're supposed to go back on. Every little piece that you redo, the hinges are all unique to that piece. So yep, I had to go back to the video, I figured it out, and now I can put these back on.
So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know I did another black piece, but that is what that is what's selling for us. So why would you do something different that's not selling? I did that green dresser and I'm glad that somebody finally bought it, but it sat there forever. Even like a slightish gray seems to sit. So it's just, you just have to check back to our channel if we envision something to be a different color. But why I can envision I don't force a color on a piece by any means. If I see a different color in my mind when I'm looking at that piece, I will definitely do it. But that stain, that covering up the red paint that was underneath there, sealing that in. I love the extra storage. Yes, this was probably an entertainment center. But wow, it just has some amazing storage. You can use it for whatever you want. So I love those kind of multi-functional pieces. And as always, you guys, thank you for being part of our YouTube family, and you're checking out our furniture flipping for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video, and we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.